Hello and welcome to this webinar where we will look into the features of the new WATS Dashboard Module. My name is Ola Lund Reppe, and in this session I will cover everything you need to know to be able to create and design dashboards in the new interface. As a test data management platform, WATS enables you to monitor and analyze your test data in real time. There are reports and interfaces for browsing and analyzing your test data. We offer alarms automatically alerting you of changes to KPIs. And when it comes to the day-to-day monitoring of your KPIs, you want to be able to visualize and present relevant data to anyone involved in your manufacturing process. The dashboard module lets you do just that. The dashboards in WATS can range from overviews inspecting KPIs on enterprise level. They can be drilled down to monitor a specific product, a production line, or even down to individual stations, operators, and measurements. Since you have signed up for this webinar, I trust that you already know the importance of creating them, so I'll keep my focus on showing you how to do it. First, I'll take you through creating a dashboard from scratch. We will look at the widget settings and filters. I will explain the new dashboard filter. And we will look into some new features such as the possibility to share and subscribe to dashboards. And in the end, I will take a look at some of the most important widget types and how to set them up. So let's move into the WATS interface and have a look at the dashboard module and the features and functionality that comes with it. I'll go into reporting, and by clicking the dashboard icon in the menu, I get a list of all my available dashboards. I have the public ones at top and the private ones below. What I want to do now is create a new one. So I'll go ahead and click the new dashboard icon, which will bring up a dialog box prompting me for a dashboard name. I want to make a dashboard that shows all my stations, their volume and the yield. So let's call it station volume and yield. I can choose to make this dashboard public. And I can select a refresh rate for the dashboard. I'll leave these settings at the default now, which is private and 1 hour. By clicking the save button, I will bring up my new empty dashboard. And what you will see is a design grid in the background. And there's a widget toolbox on the left-hand side. The widget toolbox is our interface for adding and editing widgets. And to get us started, let's just add the first one. I click the Add tab in the widget toolbox to bring up a list of all my available widgets. Here I can choose from a list of charts and tables and grids for different purposes, but I will start off with the statistics overview widget. I can add a widget to the dashboard either by clicking the Add button to the right or by grabbing its handle and dragging it into the view. Once the widget is placed, I can reposition it by drag and drop, and I can scale it by dragging and dropping its corners and edges. The widget will align with the design grid in the background. Let's move this into the top right corner and click the Edit button on the widget toolbox to bring up the settings and filter. The widget settings is where you set the properties related to how data is displayed in the widget, and the filter part allows you to narrow down what data to display. For this widget, I will change the type from report to unit. I will give it a name and I will call it unit statistics, and I will choose to display the header. To apply my changes, I need to click Save. For the filter, I can choose to filter this widget based on product groups, on the levels, part number, station name, and test operations. I will leave this filter empty, but I want you to pay attention to product groups and levels, which are pre-filled with the default value Use Dashboard Filter. This allows us to filter these properties when viewing the dashboard at a later time. I will demonstrate that once the dashboard is complete. So that concludes the first widget. Let's save and apply our changes. and go ahead and add the next one. For this widget, I want to use the yield overview, and this is a pie chart with a legend that shows the yield of these different passes. And let's go ahead and edit some of the properties for this widget as well. For the widget settings, I want to add a title, and I'll call it yield. And I'll display the header, and here I can choose to display the chart only, legend only, or both. I can choose what yield types to display, and I can choose the table view legend here as well. When it comes to the filter, there are a few properties in this one that we didn't have in the last one. In addition to part number, I can also choose to filter this on batch number, station name, and you get a top count to reduce the number of records if you're working on large data sets. I can filter on test operation, and I can filter on time period. Here I will choose to use the dashboard filter, but I could override this if I want and choose any other period type and a number of periods. So now that I'm happy with my settings, I'll resize and position this widget in the top right corner as well. And we'll go ahead and add the next one. The next one I want to add is the same as the first one. So instead of adding it again, I can simply select it and click on the clone button. This will make a copy. I can drag it into place. And what I want to do here is show the report statistics. So I'll go into edit and change the type to report, change the title, and click save. And for the last widget in this column, I want to use the test status. This is a pie and legend chart, just like the yield overview. And let's resize this and edit some properties. I want to name this test status and display the header. And like the yield chart, this has a property to view both or only chart or only legend. I can choose which statuses to include, and I can choose to display the legend as a table. This concludes the right column of this dashboard, and to finalize it, I will put the station map in the remaining area. The station map is simply a world map showing all our stations and locations, and I'll just add the map into the dashboard, and I'll scale it to fit the empty area, and click edit to edit the settings. If the widget toolbox gets in your way, you can always move it around, and you can also hide it with this checkbox in the top right corner. For the map, I can choose from a few different settings. I can choose to display a light map layout like this one, or a terrain mode. I can choose to display the day-night overlay that you see displaying the time of the day. And I can hide the node details. I can turn the country outlines on and off, and I can choose to display country names on map labels. For the filter, I can filter this one on product groups, levels, part number, batch number, station name, top count, and also on test operations. But I'll leave this one empty and leave the filtering for the dashboard filter. So now that the final widget is placed, I will exit edit mode. And to exit edit mode, I can do that in two ways. I can either just close the widget toolbox, or I can use the button in the top right corner. Once I exit from edit mode, I can no longer select, move or resize my widgets. But you will notice a new toolbar in the top right corner. Before we go into that, I will reposition the nodes of the map. Like this. The first button in this toolbar is the full screen button. This simply shows the dashboard in full screen mode. And next we have a manage menu. I'll get back to that later. The next few buttons we have is the period filter. Here I can choose to filter the entire dashboard based on these buttons. So here you have the data for last 24 hours. By selecting 7 days, I get the latest week, and I have a 30-day option to see the latest 30 days. The next filter button is the product group filtering. Here I can choose to filter the result based on the product groups I have defined. So by selecting one or more of these, I will narrow the search down to the selected product group. And in the same way, I can also choose to add level filters. The button to the right, refresh, simply refreshes the data. And let's go look at the manage menu. If I click the manage menu, I get a few options, and the first one is edit widgets. This one will simply take me back into edit mode and let me redesign and edit the properties for the widgets. Next up, we have the widget settings, which is the same dialog as we used to create the widget. And here we can rename, choose to set it at public or change the refresh rate. I'll set it to be a public one. Now that I've selected public, we can go back into the menu and see that the station volume and yield dashboard has moved from private to public, and I will also be able to share this dashboard with my coworkers. So going back to the manage menu, I get an option to set custom quick dates, and this applies to the period filter of the dashboard filter. So here I can configure 3 more options for period filtering. And let's add 100 days option and 3 months and 6 months. And you'll see the new options pop up in the top right corner, and I can select one right away. Next up in the manage menu is the set default selection. This sets this dashboard as my default dashboard, and if I set this and have a dashboard as a start page, I will also get this dashboard as the first view when I open up my report module. Next up, I can choose to subscribe on the dashboard or share it with coworkers, and here I can choose how often I want this dashboard subscribed by email, and I can add the coworkers to get the same email as well. We also have the possibility to clone the dashboard. This will simply make a copy, and you can select your new name and whether or not it's public and the refresh rate. And I can delete the dashboard entirely. So that concludes the walkthrough of how to create and view the dashboard. And what I want to do now is go back into the widget settings for a few more widgets. And to do that, I will simply create a new blank dashboard. Let's call this one widget examples. First, I want to take a look at the widget grids. Although there are a lot of them and they display different data, they fundamentally work the same way. So let's demonstrate by selecting one of them. And I'll choose to use the test reports grid. I'll add it to the dashboard, resize and edit. And for the widget filter, I will leave this one be, because we've been through these filters quite a few times. But in the settings, there is a checkbox for grouping. And by checking this box, I allow for this grid to be grouped by any column. And I can also choose which columns to see. So let's remove a few columns to save some space. And I want to include the step cost UUT fail and the fail path. And as I save and apply changes, you will see that the widget changes. What I've got in the top is a row for ordering. And by exiting edit mode, I can now order this table by drag and dropping a column header into this row. I can expand the view, and you will now see that all reports are ordered by the part number. I can also choose sorting, ascending or descending sorting, and I can choose to sort from multiple columns at the same time. For the next widget, I want to take a different approach, and I want to leave the dashboard module and open up any reports. Let's open up the test reports. I'll clear the filter and apply. And you may notice that for the grids and charts in this report, I have a button in the top right corner which says Add to Dashboard. This is a shortcut to add a grid or a chart to any dashboard. And let's look at the chart step cost UUT fail. This is an extremely useful chart showing the top fail causes. And by clicking Add to Dashboard and selecting my widget examples dashboard, I can simply add this one to my dashboard. So I'll go back, and as you can see, the widget pops up in the top right corner. Let's edit the size of this one, and there we go. The next widget I want to demonstrate is the measurement widget. And this is a widget that shows a chart of a specific measurement. And it's slightly more complex to set up compared to the other widgets. So first I'll add the widget to the dashboard. It's found under Dashboard Charts. And to set this one up, I need to have some data. I need to specify a specific part number, and I need to know which test operation I want to look at. And I need to specify the measurement path. That means the main sequence, subsequences, and the measurement name. So to find this data, I want to use the test reports grid that we already added to this dashboard. So now I'll go ahead and close this widget toolbox and look for a test to inspect. So looking at the top failed measurement chart, I'm going to look for the most frequent one, which is the measure can GND. And to find it in my grid, I can simply sort by failed path and find all the failed measurements in the bottom. Here we have the top most frequent failing one, and in each of these lines we have everything we need to populate the measurement widget. We have the part number, we have the test operation, and we have the measurement path. So I'll go ahead and copy the measurement path and go back into the widget settings, and I will paste the path in. I will leave measurement main sequence callback and remove the slash and paste my path in. Then I will go down to part number and enter the part number, and I will check the test operation, which in this case is PCBA test. Now when I hit save, the widget will be populated with the measurement data. When it comes to the legend of this chart, you can see that there's a purple line, which is the average measurement. There's a green line with the CPK value, and there are two red lines showing the high limit and low limit. And there's a gray bar chart showing the number of measurements. If I go back into the options, you can see that there are a few adjustments I can do. I can choose to hide the displayed number of measurements. I have a time usage measurement I can include. And we can choose to hide or display average values, minimum values, CPK, high limit, low limit. The interpolate button makes the line between the measurement points, and we can choose to display or hide plot markers and also to hide the labels. So that's about it for the measurement widget. Let's place this one over to the right side and give it some more space. And I want to introduce one last widget before we end this session. The next widget I want to show is the top repair chart widget. So let's add this one to the dashboard. This widget shows the most frequent repair operations aggregated by product. And compared to the previous one, it's a simple widget and has not many properties to set. But we can choose what label to use, and I'll choose product name. And we can, of course, also give this one a title and display a header. The widget filter is the same as all the other widgets. And that concludes what I wanted to go through when it comes to the dashboard and widgets. Before we end this session, I just want to say thank you for your attention and remind you to please sign up for our newsletter at wats.com/newsletter. Have a nice day and thank you for watching.